Well, let's find out more now. We can speak to the president of Amnesty International France, Cécile Coudriou, who joins me here in the studio. Very warm welcome to you. Thank you for coming to see us. A piece written by Amnesty International says that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is an international crime. On what grounds?
It's a very strong position. It's absolutely justified to call that an aggression according to international law, because Russia has invaded Ukraine and it was not a legitimate defense. It was not authorized by the Security Council of the United Nations. So in that case, it can be characterized as an aggression. So it is absolutely against international law. It's a violation of the United Nations Charter as well. Besides, we have been documented, and it was since day one of that conflict, we have been documented very serious crimes, attacks on civilians, ballistic missiles used on areas that were populated by civilians, and it was deliberately so. Even cluster bombs have been used, and it is absolutely forbidden by international law as well. Cluster bombs that have devastating effect, of course, on civilians as well. And even a kindergarten was targeted. So obviously, Putin, and I have to say again, shows absolutely no respect for international law, whether it is humanitarian law or human rights, of course.
These are war crimes, aren't they?
Absolutely. We have a lot of elements because we have this team called the Crisis Evidence Lab. So they have been verifying, checking and double checking all the information coming from different sources, videos, pictures. So they can, because they are also experts in ballistic experts, they can check which weapons have been used, whether it was legal or not. And we have repeatedly documented what amounts to war crimes.
So Russia's not fulfilling its obligations, in other words, either when it comes to the humanitarian aspect of its obligations with regards to those refugees who are both internally and externally displaced.
Yeah, it is the same every time. It was the same in Syria with Aleppo, for example. It was the same, Aleppo, sorry, in English. It was the same in Chechnya. So it is unfortunately the same old tradition for Vladimir Putin to have no respect at all for international law. He couldn't care less about what happens to civilians. On the contrary, it's part of a strategy, in a way, to crush this population and to make sure they will never dare continue to fight. But in fact, they do. This population shows great courage, and some people flee, so they have to be welcomed as refugees, obviously. Amnesty International welcomes this decision by the European Union to offer temporary protection for all refugees, because we have also documented some kind of discrimination between different refugees according to the color of the skin, for example. This is absolutely unacceptable. So we really insist that every refugee should be welcome and should be taken care of with dignity. It's absolutely essential in such circumstances, of course.
I mean, what you've described about President Putin acting with impunity, not just in Ukraine, but also, as you said, in Syria, I mean, clearly he doesn't think he's ever going to have to face justice for his actions. Do you think he will?
We hope so, and that's why our organization is trying to document day after day these war crimes, because it will help in the investigation conducted by the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, and we really welcome that decision has decided to open this investigation. So it's now the preliminary phase, but we hope that, I'm not going to say soon, unfortunately, it wouldn't be realistic, but we have to be as consistent as possible, asking the whole international community, all states, we're calling upon them to help for this investigation, because the more elements we have, the more difficult it will be for Vladimir Putin to escape justice. He has to be held accountable.
Just lastly, we haven't got much time left. I mean, it's obviously key to morale in Ukraine amongst the Ukrainians that Europe and the West as a whole are seen to be doing something. They seem to be helping.
Yeah.
Do you think we're doing enough?
Well, it's better than it has been in the past for other conflicts. So sometimes it's even sad to see that this kind of double standards prevail. It shouldn't be the case. But at the same time, of course, we welcome this reaction, which has been stronger than usual, and with more, not only solidarity, but also unity in the West, in Western countries, particularly the European Union, of course. So this is something that could help, that could make a difference, even though we are afraid that civilians are going to be targeted again. It's going to be maybe a long conflict, but we are really counting on the international community to continue to put pressure, as much pressure as possible, on Vladimir Putin.
Right, well, thank you so much for speaking to us. The President of Amnesty International France, Cécile Coudriou. Thank you very much.
Thank you.